to read the makeup because you see the way he plays and down in and down out. The way you can move him around and do a lot of different things. He can play stack. He can play off the edge. He can rush inside. He can do so many different things. And again, an unbelievable person. He's one of those guys that when you know who he is as a person, he just one of those guys that won't fail. You love the makeup and love the character.
His father would be extremely happy being in his seat, possibly 2 games in the same weekend with both sons playing.
His brother playing out there. Yeah.
Hey, James, a little bit on Pierce.
Yeah, Pierce. I mean, as a pass rusher, I mean, just look at the numbers. Even if you don't watch tape, look at the numbers. Highest pressure rate in football, and that's great. And it's been consistent 2 years. I mean, this is a productive player. He can get off the ball. He's explosive. He's sudden. He's twitchy. He plays with violence. And so whether it's in the run game or the pass game, he's disruptive in that way. Really flies around. Love the way he plays. Love the way he competes.
Really, I'm just going to reiterate the same things. I mean, a lot of great things we talk about with James, but we definitely had to increase our rush. We had to definitely get our rush better, and both of these players really make it better.
Were you guys surprised that Walker was there at number 15?
I'm never surprised in the draft.
You know, you just don't know. The crazy thing is, honestly, Mark, is how the first, I don't know, was it like 7 picks? They were chalk. It was just how all the mocks said. That was the weirdest thing. Even
You had them all predicted.
I did.
well, even with
I was 1 for 7.
well, it's crazy because even with Jacksonville going up and then 5, Mason probably had Mason going 5. You know, so that was the craziest part about how it came off like that. But we kind of predicted actually that there was going to be a run on offensive linemen. So many people needed offensive linemen, and that kind of pushed some of those good defensive players down a little bit further. So we're excited that he's on the clock. Surprise isn't the right word because you just never know how the draft's going to go.
Terry, you talked about the production with Pierce, but both these players are athletic, fast players. Was that a characteristic that you wanted to improve in this defense or wanted to add to this defense? And how do they generally accentuate what you want the identity of the defense to be?
When you talk about, I know you said Terry, but when you're talking about it, Terry did such a great job of having the ability to go about profiles and what we're looking for from a rush standpoint, from an edge standpoint, from creating some havoc on the passer. We got a chance to go over some of those profiles and be able to talk to those different things with different coaches that we got in the building. And I really believe the scouts and Terry and his group all really sat down and put together a great list for us to go out there and evaluate. And couldn't be more pleased with the, obviously the class and what was available to us. And to be able to go out there and get that thing accomplished like that, I can't say enough positive things about us.
James off field had questions. What made you all comfortable with him?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time with these prospects. Daniel, we do. Our scouts do a good job, boots on the ground, and they spend so much time really profiling the players and gathering all the information. And then we step in, we get the coaches involved, and we're about as thorough and detailed as you can possibly be. We spend a lot of time with him personally, everybody that's surrounded with him. It was truly an exhaustive process. And that's what makes us feel good about our culture and everything we are. But that's important. We always talk about intangibles, and we want to bring in guys that love ball and love to compete. And as we build this roster the right way, and we spent a lot of time with him making sure that he was going to fit.
One said there was a report that you guys met with him and his mom yesterday. Is that true?
Yes.
What happened?
It's like it's like we always talk about. Every exposure is important. Right? Every time, we don't, I know some people don't do 30 visits, they don't go out as much, and they don't, but that's not for us. We want to know who we're bringing in this building, right? Because they're representing us, they're representing the Falcons, and that's important. So we want to know who we're bringing in here, and so we spend as much time as we possibly can with not just players, but people that surround them. Make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
Terry, when you consider the commitment you've made to improving the edge and the pass rush
Yes, sir.
and free agency at the number 15 pick, you still made the commitment to give next year's first rounder for more help.
Yeah.
Now, how difficult was that call?
Yeah, Charles, it was, with trades, it always gets to that point where you have to weigh out what you're actually doing and what you're doing it for. And we look at the trade charts and all that stuff, but at some point you have to look at, okay, who's the player and what's going to be, what are we really getting, and is it worth it? And that's what you really have to do at some point. And when you have that kind of conviction and belief in the player, and that's when you're willing to do it. And we do. We have that kind of belief, and our staff Because it's not just, we always talk about the draft, it's not just about the actual drafting of players, it's about getting them in the right environment and developing the right way. And we truly believe, so it's not just believing in the players and the skill sets that we brought in here today, but it's believing in our building. And that's the coaches, that's player performance, that's everyone in this building, and believing we're going to surround these guys and make the absolute best of them. So I think there's a lot of belief and conviction in the players and also what we have here.
Question for Raheem. Typically, it's difficult for rookies, pass rushers, to be productive as rookies. In your experience, like, what's the key for that? What's the key for a guy who's moving up on a level, to still be a productive pass rusher like they were in college?
We've been talking about it, just throughout the course of the offseason. And we talked about when I got Flo in free agency, and we got Fox in free agency, and we got our two young guys coming up from next year. We talking about Rook, you're talking about Dorless, and you're talking about bringing in the guys that we brought in tonight. We've been talking about this basketball team mentality. So it's about learning how to rush as one, learning how to get out there and rush together, and learning how to rush as this one individual process to be able to get to the quarterback. And I believe we got some of the coaches in the building that's going to be able to talk about that constantly. We have people in the building going to be able to help these guys figure out how to get that done. Obviously, we got some off-the-ball backers here. When we talk about Caden Ellis, some of the things that they've been able to do from rushing from off the ball, and then having some movable parts like we picked up tonight, and then having some pieces that we had to pick up tonight with the ultimate talent being to have some of the hand usage that's just mature beyond our means. And I just can't tell you how excited I am to get those guys out in the grass and let those guys get out there and get better together, because that's the important part. And make no mistake about it, it is very hard to find pass rushers. It's very hard to get out there in your first day and get out there and do it. But I got so much confidence in the people in the building to be able to go out there and help these guys be the best version of themselves every single time.
Raheem, how do you see Jalen as a pass rusher? Just because he's got such a unique skill set, he kind of plays all over the place. He can blitz from different places on the field. How do you see him incorporating into this defense?
Basically, the way you just explained him to me, being able to come off the edge, being able to move around. He's very self-aware. And if you ever talk to this young man, he'll kind of tell you what he thinks he is. And he's 30% off the edge. He's 30% blitzing through a gap. He can do some different things in the back end. He can drop. He can do all kinds of different things. So, he's definitely a threat, and he's definitely provides a threat for us that would allow us to utilize him in the most captivating ways. And, we got a lot of coaches up there that are just gunning to use him and gunning to find different ways to get it done. And I just can't say enough good things about him.
At what point tonight did y'all start working earnestly on trading back up to get at 26?
So honestly, Josh, we had already, and we talked about making those calls.
Preliminary calls in the week.
Yes, sir. So we already had some teams that we knew were going to be looking to trade out. But then I think some of the teams at the bottom, because of what happened, it was kind of going chalk, and then some players went that maybe some people didn't expect, and then there was a point where we felt like we had a better chance. But to answer your question, as soon after as we got off the phone at 15, we started working and started working on getting back in, and not knowing when he was going to go or anything like that. But we just started working the phones. But we kind of knew that was that sweet spot right in that area down there that we thought we could get back in.
Getting back in with the intention of getting another pass rusher, or with the intention of getting Pierce? Was this a Pierce-dependent trade?
We're coming back in from Pierce, but you know how it is, Josh. It's there's good players on the board, so it just depends. If we were working the phones to get back in, and we're looking at the board and all those things and trying to figure things out, but once we got to that point, we were coming back in to get Pierce.
Because the way the board went for 15, were you guys considering trading that? Were you fielding calls too, or is that one a close call? You guys knew when Jalen was there, he was our guy.
Yeah, we're excited to get. We had conviction and belief in Jalen, and so when he's there at 15, again, Vic, we always make those calls. We're just doing our due diligence, but we're taking Jalen. We're excited about it.
What do you want to say to Jordan fans now that you finally you picked the Bulldog in the first round?
Look, we picked a hell of a football player and a hell of a person. You talk about the players, all the players being here, D-led for that local day, and we had already spent a lot of time with Jalen. We spent a lot of time with him throughout the whole process, but I might have spent the whole day. It was like the whole time we're out there, it was me, Jalen, and my son hanging out because he didn't work out, but he's watching all those other guys work out and cheering them on and going through that thing. But it's just he's one of those guys that as I'm looking at him and looking at my son, I'm like, that's what you want your son to grow up to be like, And he was about to leave there and go to Georgia State to meet his dad to watch his brother play. He's a safety there, but just a different level guy. But again, I'm talking about the person. When you watch the tape and watch the player, you don't even need to meet the person because you know what you're getting.
If
Raheem,
Jalen-
Jalen surprised us by saying that he has a relationship with Micah Parsons, who he said is like a mentor, like a brother. And when I asked him about the inevitable comparisons, he didn't seem to mind at all. Do you see that comparison?
I don't know if anybody's seen Michael Parsons before Michael Parsons became Michael Parsons. So to compare him to that type of greatness, put that type of pressure on this young man would be unfair. I think you got to let him come out and be the best version of himself, which I know he will because of who he is and the makeup that we just talked about. I got so much respect for both of the players you just mentioned, and I'm really excited about ours and what we can do with him and some of those dimensions. So he'll have some Michael Parsons-like features, and I'll let him, determine what he can be when he gets to this league and gets to this level.
How much did Jeff Ulbrich advocate for both of these guys?
Yeah, again, I think I told you guys the other day how passionate, not just Brick, but really the whole defensive staff. We have a passionate group, period. So going through the whole process with him the entire time is really, really cool because he's going through exactly how he's going to utilize them and how he's going to get the most of players and how he's going to deploy all of them like Raheem was going through our players and what we have here, and that's all a part of it, Taryn, getting the most of our guys here and getting the most of the players we bring in and having that clear vision. And so he is one of those coaches that he's going to have a clear vision. He's going to know how he's going to use them and how he's going to continue to develop them. So Brick's obviously excited today.
Taryn is actually funny. We talked about this all the time, but we make these decisions, make them together, and it's really all of us. And it was not just old Brick having a clear vision for him, but we, had Zach Robinson watch these guys, and Zach Robinson knows what these guys like and who he doesn't want to play, and the guys that he can absolutely grade and do some different things, and all a bunch of different guys on this coaching staff. So we're all in, and our guys and our coaching staff, and the amount of time that we put into the due diligence that we put into both of these guys, I really am proud of, to be honest.
If Jalen Walker had been off the board, would Pierce have been the pick at 15?
I don't know.
That's
I know, but I'm not going to tell you.
It's the hypothetical game that we don't have to play.
That's love to play those hypothetical games.
Was Mike Green in consideration to come back in for, or what was, because he was ranked a little bit higher than Pierce, just a little
On who's on your board?
seven.
But what about
Oh, mine,
yours?
yes, too, yeah.
You watched him? You like him better?
Oh, no, I like Pierce too, but I thought he was a little too light.
You thought Pierce was a little too light.
Yeah,
but
I saw him get up.
yeah, and it's interesting because we talk about that, later. There's 32 different boards, I would say, in the NFL, and then the outsiders. Everybody has their different boards, and people value different traits and all those things, So, but on our board, we're excited about getting Pierce.
So Mike Green wasn't in consideration.
We're really excited about
If you're
getting
our board, I
Pierce.
say we're really excited about getting Pierce.
Okay. And do you have Jalen's 40 time? We're trying to do a buy on him. We don't have his 40 time. We got arms and all that, but no 40s.
Call Kirby.
There you go. You should get Kirby to get it for you.
That's ridiculous. We used to get bios with all that stuff. We don't get them anymore. It's real basic.
Come on, David.
Raheem, for both these players, like, what do they need to refine about their games in order to be the impact players I'm sure you guys want them to be?
It's you never want to say you come in as this perfect set of anything. So the reason that you're attracted to them is because they're obsessional football. When you're talking to each one of these individual players, they can talk about different things that they want to do better and different things that they want to explore. And, I can vividly remember sitting in the office talking with Pierce about some of the things he wants to do with his hand usage and finding ways to get better and some of the different moves that he wants to use and the obsession he has of rush. No different than with Jalen, just talking about the versatility and some of the things that he's able to do and the reasons why. And, so I don't want to set any limitations on these guys and tell you what they need to get better before you actually get your hands on them. I'm really fired up seeing these guys that go out there and show what they could do naturally, watch them go out there and find ways to improve them, and really grow together. I think that's a part of it. Like, that's a part of the rushing together and all those guys. So I just can't wait to get these guys out in our grass.
How does this trade change your plans for tomorrow and how you go about it?
Well, we're going to pick it a little bit later. So, but look, we kind of talked about this draft and the fact that we do believe it's a deep draft, so we'll get a good player when we do pick. And again, I keep saying this, but it's true. There is an 8th round this year, and we're going to be aggressive there and get some good players when the 7th round ends.
Anything else?
Anything else? Good. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Oh, man, you got yelled at, David, for having a bio.
Get that 40 time.
Yeah, Matt, were you?